Hey, it was good. I'm just checking in. Hope everybody's doing okay. I hope everybody's getting ready for these summer months. June's going to be next week, so it's going to be nice and hot. Hope everyone's hydrating and taking the time out to make sure that the family members are safe. You know, those elderly, those that's struggling with AC, make sure you check on your people. Please continue to be safe. Be safe out there with the pandemic. I know it's still continuing on up here. With the shutdowns and lockdowns, I know some places are open. So if they're open, please be safe. Even though the malls and the movie theaters and all the stuff is going back to some type of normal, still please wear masks and take care of yourselves. The number is going to continue to grow if we don't. For those who've been tuning in, I really appreciate it. As always, thank you. Please share the information that's been given. For those who are new, www.rebellioncommunitytrust.org. I'm also on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. And I'm still working on Patreon. Unfortunately, hitting some snags. So I'm still working on that, but that's going to be up very soon. I'll definitely keep you posted on that. And, you know, the Spotify for all the audio podcasts that I'm doing. SoundCloud is still up. So if y'all want to tune into anything I've done with that, with the Inspirational Quote Wednesdays, please check into that. So real quick, I might be a little lengthy this time. It's a lot of information. We're going to talk about this George Floyd situation. It's a lot of media attention on it. Personally, this is probably the worst situation I've seen as of yet. I have a lot of notes, did a lot of research on what happened. I saw the video. If those haven't seen it, that's up to you. If you want to see it, it's definitely going to make you mad. All right. And it just goes to show how we're valued as African-American men in this country, African-Americans in general in this country. The video was just pretty much to me a public lynching. He pretty much, you know, just killed that individual, killed George right in front of in the camera. You can see his face as he dies. I've watched commentary from a couple of people. We're going to talk about what they said. But one of the things before I even saw the video, one of the commentaries I'm going to talk about is a police officer. And he watched the video. He explained it before I even saw the video. So when I actually seen it, I actually looked for what he said, and you can see it. And it just shows that Rebuilding Community Trust, to me, the site, I mean, being an advocate and standing up for the rights of citizens, and it's I still have that passion, but this right here is going to destroy the community trust for police. It's already been destroyed, but if this didn't destroy it, this did it. And as I get into the commentary, he's going to talk about, like I say, he's a police officer, so he's going to probably talk about some stuff, but you still can't punish people that are trying. I had no police officers, military police officers, was in the police force, and there are good police officers. I always advocate for the good, but it doesn't take much to advocate and to destroy everything. It doesn't take it. 4 officers did this, or participate in this, or had a role in this, and this destroys all police officers. And the ones that are trying, these 4 destroyed anything that every police officer ever tried to do positive. They just destroyed it on that day. So, well, I say, if you see the video, I'm not going to tell you to watch it. If you choose to watch it, you know, be mindful of the content that you're going to see. Pay attention to the details. You know, because this, again, even though it's heinous as it is, you need to still pay attention, because these are things that you can learn to teach those that's out here. So real quick, I'm not going to go much. It's public knowledge, so you can go in there and see all this stuff that I'm going to say. Obviously, keep in mind there's updates hourly, daily. It's going to be updates to this stuff because it's so huge with the protests. That's another topic. But just, you know, continue to monitor the situation, because this is going to be, along with Ahmaud Arbery, along with this case similarly happening around these same times, is just, again, it shows the value of black men we are treated. And then two other side cases was it was a truck driver making a delivery, and it was a HOA. Three white guys pulled the guy over and called the police on him because he wasn't supposed to be in the neighborhood, and he was asking questions and interrogating them, and he was just doing his job. So that alone is an example of just that happened week before last, and then this is with the dog, and the black man's telling the white lady about the rules and regs of the park of the dog, and she called the police on him, and he wasn't even doing anything. So that's another situation. So it's like these four things constantly happen. All this stuff's constantly happening. It's satanic. This is the end times. I know a lot of people don't believe in God and don't believe in Christ, but I'm telling you, this is just the beginning of things to come. You got this right here in the midst of coronavirus. You got people protesting and burning down buildings, which is another thing I'm gonna talk about. Doing all this during the pandemic, in masks, social distancing doesn't exist. All this happens in the same correlation of the pandemic. So you got a pandemic going on, and then you got this. So basically, like I said, George Floyd. So he was arrested for apparently forgery, bad check, right? From what the research I've gathered from the different news outlets, and we always got to watch the media. Media dramatifies everything. I keep telling people that you got to look at all the facts, as much as you can gather, before you making a public opinion, because the media takes it to the next level, and the media plays on emotions, and they report what they want to report. They report the things that's going to get ratings, and they put an agenda out. So again, make sure you do thorough research on anything such as this nature so you can get the full details. So bad check. They said that he was physically resisting. All right, and he was arrested. The video starts. You see the video, and he was basically put in a knee position. The knee is on top of the neck of George Floyd, and he was handcuffed. Right, and then from there, he proceeds to. I got the officer's name too. Derek Chauvin, Officer Derek Chauvin, put his knee on his neck, and pretty much suffocates, cut his airway off, suffocates, and he dies. And you hear that's why I say pay attention to the video. You hear him cry, you hear him call for his mother. You tell him he's dying, he couldn't breathe. Right, just like Eric Garner, chokehold, cut his air supply off, couldn't breathe, and bystanders, all that stuff there, they were there. Not only recording it, but they was telling officers to stop. And there was an officer standing there. I think his name is Officer Toy Tile. I don't know if I got the name right. He was watching it. He was standing there. And he could have told the officer, hey, man, get up off of him. Let's move him. Let's roll him over to his seating position, or you can roll him on his side. So I'm going to talk about some of the tactics, too. All right. So because certain things Academy teaches, you have administrative policies. When you go to the Academy, they have a curriculum that they follow. And these are certain things. They do the research over the years. They see what works. You have criminal justice researchers. You have police researchers, executive police personnel in place to conduct this training and get these things certified, to establish a curriculum, establish training techniques that are effective in order to teach the recruits and cadets in the academy in order for them to operate in the street. So if this was a training tactic, which I got some information from one of the prior, law enforcement, it was a training tactic taught to the Minnesota Police Department. With the knee on the neck is supposed to bend for aggressive. Those are the suspects are getting arrested, and it's supposed to keep them pinned down and while they arrest them. And now when they were done getting arrested, that's you're supposed to stop. You're supposed to get up, roll him to his side, roll him to the seating position, because he's handcuffed. You know what I'm saying? If you need to cuff his feet with the zip ties, you can do that. So there's many ways for training when you train to put this stuff out. One of the things I saw, Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, he wants the officers to be arrested and charged. It was interesting to see. He was really, feeling that pressure with all the different things with the protests. So his live meeting yesterday, he explained that his concern, he got with the district attorney, he got with the lawyers and attorneys, prosecution team, to go ahead and go forward, to start pushing some paperwork and start getting the process going and investigation going to, look into the case. One of the things he stated that was interesting, he said that this was a heinous crime and that a lot of people, a lot of black men are getting in jail, put in prison for less stuff. So the fact that what happened was the counterfeit bill that I guess George Floyd used to go ahead and push, to try to forge or whatever needed to forge. And that, that was obviously the store owner probably called the police on him or whatnot, but basically the mayor was just basically saying that that was used, that's far less crime than most people, and he didn't deserve the treatment that he should have received. So I thought that was interesting. So one of the first commentaries I listened to, scrolling through my timelines, a lady named Lissa McCurry, and she's white. So she did her rant on Facebook Live. You might have seen it. People are posting it. Interesting intake. One of the interesting things, the reason I brought the topic up, because white privilege, right, is something that a lot of whites have. So when they look at this outrage, and if you look at the protests, you see a lot of whites out there, all right? So one interesting thing she said that touches me is that the movement of change and reform for African Americans should be led by white Americans. She mentioned the Me Too movement, and she mentioned the Black Lives Matter, and that us blacks, African Americans, should not be the one fighting for these reform and changes. It should be the white Americans should stand up. The change, she's a Christian, right? So from a Christian standpoint, I see it. Everyone should take a stand. Not just whites, all people should take a stand. The chances are of all whites taking a stand, no. There's a few, and it goes back to what I said before. And the last time we did the Ahmaud Arbery review, and I talked about it, you can't fight hate with hate. Emotions, people getting their feelings, it can be very difficult. When this happened back to back like this, I had to pray because I can feel the anger and the resentment building up. But you always got to remember that if you operate, especially if you're operating as a Christian, a believer, you cannot fight hate with hate. And you also got to understand too, and she did mention this, that we fight not against flesh and blood, but principalities, spirits, and dark forces of this world. So you're fighting against an enemy, and the enemy can oppress people to do the things that they do. So if you're operating out of spiritual context, you have to understand that it's not the people themselves, it's the spirits operating in them. But the fact that she admitted that she doesn't understand racism, it really exposes white privilege. The fact that she said that she couldn't look through the lenses and understand that racism still exists because she doesn't deal with it. She doesn't live, look like she doesn't live in a low income neighborhood. She doesn't live in the neighborhoods that most African Americans and blacks live in. She doesn't visit there. She doesn't see it. So in the lens, you're not going to understand what we go through. You just seen it through a TV screen. You just seen it off your Facebook, off your live. You see it on your phone, on your social media outlets. You're not experiencing it. You're not seeing it day in and day out. So for that fact, I salute her for even admitting on live that she doesn't understand racism. But it just exposes how many other white Americans don't understand either. I believe her heart is true, and I put this up here because it's interesting. If you ever watch the video and see what she's saying, that she wants to take a stand, she wants the officers to be executed, and she even said the death penalty. So she went as far as that, because it is, to me, a case of murder, or manslaughter at least. This is murder. This is straight murder because you operated out of the guidelines of the administrative policies of the police department. Everybody has an academy. You've been trained, and you're certified. All right. So when you certified, that means that you understand the policies that's in place. There's certain guidelines that you have to follow. when you operating out in the streets. And even to take it to the next level, that's why you have refresher training. Annually, you go out and get training and you refresh on new tactics and new tools and things that researchers gathered to make law enforcement more efficient. That's why you go to that's why you go to refresher training. That's why you train with federal law enforcement. In Glencoe, Georgia, there's a school, you know what I'm saying, that you train with other law enforcement agents, whether state, local, or federal. And they teach you training tools. They teach you things that they tried and research to be more effective. So to me, and especially the officer Chauvin, you've been 19 years in the game. You're a veteran. You about to retire. So you shouldn't have all of the officers that's there. There was 2 that was new, and there's 2 that was veterans. To Officer Tao, I think he was 2000, and I think they said 2013 or 2008. He's about 10 years in the game, and Officer Chauvin's 19 years in the game. So if you are a veteran, you should know better. You should be involved. You probably an SPO. That's what we call in Atlanta, SPO. So you know better how to operate yourself on the street. You should be teaching. You should be leading by example. You should have been teaching the young guys how to operate. But instead, you're operating, you failure to follow administration policies, or you failure to get yourself trained, or you just plain out don't care. Even in the military, the training that they gave me, to train you how to use mechanical advantage control holds. Those things in a fight, it depends on how you use them. Are they effective? But there's certain things that I've learned going from both civilian to military law enforcement, is that it's certain ways that how you handcuff and you keep people from, breathing. You don't put, you don't just, I never had to put someone, when I took someone down, I never had to put my knee on their neck. Well, especially after they're detained. Now, if you're fighting and you're trying to get them to the ground, and you might use a chokehold, or you might use a mock technique, or you might you might fight or whatever. You get them down to that ground, but once you got them cuffed, that's it. And by that point, you're getting them in the seating position. You're making sure they're stable. If they're injured, you call your emergency services, and then you start go ahead and making that transition to the wagon, or you making a transition to the back of the police car, so you can go ahead and get that report done. Start getting investigation started, and start getting him off to where he needs to go, or he or she off to where they need to go. He sat on the ground the entire. Once he was cuffed, the video was 2-3 minutes. You had him on the knee on his neck for 2-3 minutes. By that time, you cuffed him. If he's not resistant at no more, you got 4 other officers there to support in case he gets out of line. You got one that's standing there watching. You got a taser. You got mace. Is any other ways you could have done it to where you didn't have to put your knee on his neck? By that time, you should already got him up in the seating position and go ahead and transition him onto the back of the vehicle. That's what you should have been doing. You shouldn't have had 2-3 minutes. It don't take long to cuff somebody. Put them in the cuffing position. Make sure they're stable. If they still resistant, then you keep them down. You get your other officers involved, and you start working them to the back of the car. If he's not resistant, you already had his hand on your knee on his neck, and he said he can't breathe. At that point, you should have been off of him. Moving him up in seating, or roll him to his side, and then moving up. So it's the first step. You're in the prone. You move him, roll him to the side. The second, and the third, you put him in the seating position, and then you start bringing him up and put him in the vehicle. Or if he needs emergency services or whatnot, because he's detained, he's cuffed. If he tries to run, you got 4 other officers there. So there's no excuse for what he did. Second commentary was Deputy Brian Woodard. I know a lot of people may have heard of him. I just clicked on his profile and I watched his video, and he had a very interesting perspective. I salute what he said, and he kept calm. He still loves his job. He came at a Christian perspective. The fact that there are other officers that he said he explained that he showed the officers that he worked with, and they was upset about it, but a lot of people giving hate mail and bashing him because of what someone else has done. A lot of people don't understand the role of law enforcement. It's a media, it's a media frenzy when you bash officers that do what they're supposed to do because of what someone else does, someone else that does what they don't supposed to do. He explained positional asphyxiation. All right, so that is something I've learned too. You know what I'm saying? When you basically have your arms behind your back, you're on the ground in prone position, and your lungs can't expand to get air. Carbon dioxide takes over. You start choking. You start losing your breath and stop breathing. When you cut off the air supply, you know what I'm saying, it causes the lungs not to get the air it needs, and that's how you end up stop breathing. It's a slow death. So that's what that position of asphyxiation is. And that's why we say to roll him to the side, and then you get him up so he's seated up so the air can flow through his lungs, he can breathe. When it's like a hog tie. If you cuff him back, hands behind your back, you're constricting his lung capacity. When you tie his legs, it's like a hog. That's basically what he did. He was tied. He couldn't breathe. And then you add pressure on top of that to the concrete. Heated concrete, something solid. You just push down on the ground to the point where you constricted your airway. You're going to asphyxiate. So when it's kind of like SID. So if a baby dies from laying on his stomach, and it said that's when you get a newborn baby, a year or less, and you put that baby on his stomach or his face, and you're taking a risk of him stopping to breathe because, again, the lungs can't expand. If a baby dies laying on his stomach in a prone position without restriction or handcuffs, common sense will tell you, what are you going to do with a human being when he's prone, tied, with his hands tied, cuffed, and then you got a knee on his neck? It's bound to happen. So these training techniques, like I said, it was another lady. She was a former Minneapolis police officer, and she said the technique with the knee on the neck is basically used when someone's aggressively fighting. So a lot of us African Americans, we're built with warriors, right? A lot of us tall, 6'1". Eric Garner, 6 foot. You got these guys. George Floyd was 6'1", and a lot of times when they fight, we a lot of cops get you can get them hands put on you. I've had to fight 6'3" guys, 6'1" guys, and you got to know what you're doing. So a lot of these cops, sorry to say, a lot of these white cops and black guys getting their hands, getting their head bust, and so that's why a lot of times aggressive tactics are applied to a lot of us, right? So that's what the technique was designed originally at the first training. When they started training, they said they were supposed to use to get the suspect down and get him in a cuffing position and get him cuffed. Once that is done, then you're off of them. That's what the training tactic was used for. It was used just to get them down and get them compliant. But once they're cuffed, they're off, and they're moving them to the side and then rolling up to the seating position. So again, when you look at the video, what was the point of having your knee in his neck for so long? So yeah, Brian Woodard, Deputy Brian Woodard, he was basically just spilling his heart. It's a great live. I suggest people go look it up on Facebook, and it just really talks from his heart about how all cops are not bad, which I agree. There are some good cops, and like I said, what I said before in the video, all it takes is one. One cop can destroy 1,000. So now when it comes to the rebuilding community trust piece, this stuff continues to happen. It just erases everything that I try to say. All the platforms that try to advocate for rebuilding community trust, erases the hard work of police communities around the world. So now it's going to be people going to be looking at cops even more skeptical, right? Because of this situation. This video is just so graphic and so vivid that you can see this man's life literally die. You can literally see his life leaving his body. That's going to paint a picture that cannot be erased from a lot of African Americans in the United States. So now trust in police building community trust with the police is going to be pretty much gone. And then you got to make it harder for people like Deputy Woodard. I got 2-3 guys that I know that are working in the police departments back home. They're black and they're tired. Now they got to deal with it from now, and they're black, so they got to deal with it from their own kind because of this. And they good cops. They actually want to help, and you know what I'm saying. And now they're going to get the backlash because of what this cop and these 4 cops did. And I just don't understand why. So it's frustrating. One of the things that he said that stuck out to me was, and I'm going to say it as well, imagine someone that you love. If you hold he said, take 30 seconds and think about someone that you love tied down, crying for their mother or crying for their dad or crying for their brother. Imagine that and close your eyes and imagine that for 30 seconds. And I'm even have a caveat. Try to hold your breath for 30 seconds and imagine that person that you love in that position. If you can hold your breath for 30 seconds, you can't breathe. You can't breathe. So hold your breath for 30 seconds if you can. Close your eyes and imagine someone you love down there in that position where George Floyd was. White people, close your eyes for 30 seconds and hold your breath and imagine your family member, your husband, your brother down there in the position of George Floyd. And see how that affects you. Then you'll think twice about stepping up. All right. The riots, right? The riots. So with these riots, we got to do better. I watched a lot of the tapes and stuff like that, the police. So we got to think about how gentrification works. You got to think about how all this stuff works. When we go down and tear down businesses, business owners, that their buildings, and you put graffiti, and I mean, because you got to think about it. You watch it was a video on live, one of the protests. Police they defended the police department. They had barricades. They had police officers standing around there. They didn't care less about the building that was burning behind them. There was a building somebody set on fire, a business, and it was burned. It literally burnt to the ground. No emergency services came. If anybody was hurt, no paramedics came in those areas. The police guarded the police department, the building, but everything else burnt. It was destroyed. So it don't make sense. Again, we're angry. We're upset. Honestly, I can't even begin to fathom for the family and for those who knew George Floyd. But at the end of the day, burning down your communities, burning down business owners that had nothing to do with it, burning down sometimes your own business owners, places that thrive that neighborhood. You're burning it down. You're not helping the situation. You're looting stores. You're on camera, scenes, taking something from out the store. You're not helping anything. You're not winning by doing that. You're just tearing down your own community. And because guess what? You're going to have to build that back up. It's not helping. Please, if you can, protest peacefully. Can't fight hate with hate. This is where God comes in. This is where you have to pray and know that God, and you pray and you advocate and you know that justice will be served. And even if it's not served here on earth, people got to remember you're going to have to face, everybody is going to have to face the Father in their own time. So because they don't get away here, they don't get away up there. So burning down your neighborhoods, trashing the neighborhoods and the graffiti and stealing and looting and all that stuff, it's just like Rodney King. I thought about Rodney King, and you go back to watch that stuff. It was the same thing. He was beaten and people looted and robbed in L.A., but it's repeating itself. This is history repeating itself. Take the stuff that I say as far as learning about how it's supposed to be. And I'm going to say this. If you see someone getting arrested, unfortunately, what we got to do, and I just thought about this earlier before I did the video, you're going to have to step in. If you see, like, for example, with George Floyd, if you see somebody getting violently arrested, or you see them about to get aggressive, or you see them about to ready resist, hey, stop them. Stop them from resisting, because as you see what's going to happen if you do. As especially as us, if I see somebody on the street, I think I saw a post on there where Denzel Washington saw the same thing about to happen. He stepped in, he stepped in and tried to stop the situation from escalating. We're going to have to start doing that. We're going to have to start stepping in and de-escalating ourselves. You cannot expect the police to do it. As you can see, death is in the result. So if you see somebody, if I see somebody on the street, it don't matter. And it really honestly don't matter what race they are, because I try to love everybody, but especially if it's anybody, and someone's about to get in trouble with the police and they about to resist, I'm gonna personally make sure that I can try to stop them and see if I can de-escalate. And hey, man, stop. Because I don't want to see another George Floyd situation. I don't want to see another Eric Garner. I don't want to see another Ahmaud Arbery. I don't want to see another Tamir Rice. I don't want to see that no more. I don't want to see that no more. I will do what I have to do to stop that person from getting into it. I mean, if you did wrong, you did wrong. Now, I'm not justifying your crime. You got to still go face it, the trials and do if you did a crime. But if it's for that moment to keep you alive, if you want to resist, and that's going to be if you risk and physically resist the police, and that's going to cause you for life and death, I'm going to try to help you and stop you to keep you safe so you can even make it to the doggone trial. Something like that with George Floyd. What if he did? He could have lived. He could have got through that. He could have probably got probation. He probably could have got some small amount, a couple years. He might even got any. He could have walked away from that and be living today. But the fact that he resisted, at least what the media is saying, he resisted arrest, and he got him in a position where he lost his life. Because already the media likes to demonize African Americans as it is. Even with Ahmaud Arbery. They had him talking to the nasty to the police, and they're trying to demonize and justify why he got shot at the end, knowing that he probably was attacked, harassed by the police. And that was what caused them to react the way they did. If someone would have stopped him and said, "Hey man, chill out. We can deal this another way," that probably would have saved him at that moment. But we got to start our own advocate. And it don't matter if you're black, white, if you're a white person, and you say you want to stand up, hey, man, chill out. Let's do this another way. If it's a black person, hey, man, chill out. Let's do this another way. If it's Hispanic, Asian, whoever, it's not just whites standing up. Everybody got to stand up. If I see an Asian man doing it, if I see a white man doing it, if I see a black man doing it, if I see a Hispanic, it don't matter the race to me. I will stop and try to say, hey, man, chill out. Let's do this another way. But especially for us black people together, if I see another black person, especially if you're young, I'm going to stop. I'm going to try to de-escalate the situation, because this is what we have to do. Because standing by watching and recording is obviously not enough. And again, just like I said last time with Ahmaud Arbery, this is going to be a case where we're going to see the test of the criminal justice system that is already flawed, just test it and really see our value in this country. Being fired from the police department ain't enough in this case. You need to be charged and arrested and jailed. That's just simple. And if that doesn't happen, the system is flawed, even worse than it can be. And at this point, it's going to take more than just videos. It's going to have to come with more measures to police our own selves. And this is one of the reasons right here. If you see someone about to resist arrest, try your best to stop them. If you can't stop them, you tried, but at least make the attempt to step in and say, hey, man, chill out. You did what you did. We'll find another way. Let's just chill out so you won't get put down on the ground and get a knee on your neck. That's the whole point. So you can at least you can live to get to that point to where you can maybe fight the charge. But if you get down and resist arrest and you start beating these police officers up, they're gonna take them. They're gonna be in, because you gotta think we're people. We got emotions. Ain't no police officer gonna get punked by anybody. It's the same when I was doing it. But you treat people with respect, and everybody don't have that mindset. Just like Officer Woodard, Deputy Woodard said, he treats everybody with respect. One of the things I liked what he said at the end of his live, he said, even people that hate him and want him dead, he said he's gonna love and respect you as an officer. He's gonna serve you. And that's the mindset that police have to have. But everybody doesn't think that way. So what's going to happen is they're going to say, oh, you're going to put them hands, they're going to put you down on the ground, and they're going to probably take it to use deadly force. Deadly force continuum, you have non-lethal and lethal force. You have escalation, you have tiers. And you use certain things before you use others. Mace, taser. Your gun should be last at all times. And even when you're doing mock techniques, or you're using different training techniques, you have to judge and use discretion to know when to stop. And again, anytime you're putting someone down, it's to stop the threat and neutralize the threat until it's done. You don't go overboard. So in that case, if he's down on the ground, he's complying, and your knee's on his neck and he can't breathe, stop. That's it. That deadly force continuum should not escalate any further than that. He should not be dead right now. That's where I see it. So this is a sad time. I continue to pray for the family. I'm going to be posting a lot of stuff on the page at some point, different videos, different things. please continue to stay empowered. Let this stuff pass this on to your youth. If you with a bunch of youth, you teenagers, y'all out, and you see somebody about to fight your friends, if you a friend or you just somebody you know, hey man, chill out. I'm talking to the youth now, because y'all need to know this. Y'all need to see this is the stuff that's happening. Take time and stop it before it starts. If you see someone in a prone position, you know about positional asphyxiation. You see someone on their stomach and they cuffed, do what you got to do. Talk to them. Hey, roll him to his side, officer. Roll him to his side, officer. Roll him to his side. And record, because guess what? The more we use our amendments, if he ain't listening, like these dudes didn't listen, get it on camera. But I guarantee you, after this event, officers gonna be paying attention now. And when somebody say, officer, roll him to his side, they're gonna roll him to his side. I guarantee after this. And if they don't, then they just don't care. This should be an example set right here with this situation, to have officers on their toes and be able to take the training they get seriously and get the training they need, and to learn to discretionally look at someone and know if they can't freaking breathe, you're gonna make the next move to get them up. As a empowered person, citizen, you need to also notice these things and call it out. Now you know, knowledge is power. Let's apply the knowledge. And if you see someone resist arrest, you need to step in. You're gonna have to. You can't stand by no more. You can't do all these protests and burn stuff down, and then if something happens again, you standing by watching. If you're going to really do all this protesting, when you see it, stop it. See it, step in the best that you can. And it ain't always work all the time. You might get resistance. They might not listen, because people are in their feelings and they hyped up, and the cops, they already hate cops, so they ready to throw them hands on them anyway. Do your best, the best you can, to intervene. And if you can't, then you can't, but at least try. Get more than one person. Get a group of people. Hold them back. These men, you see it. Those who've been in it. Hey, stop this young guy. Stop this guy from making a mistake, because they hot-headed, so they're not thinking. They're not thinking about, I need to chill out and not get myself killed. They upset. They angry. So we had to step in and say, okay, let me advocate for this guy and let me try to stop him before he makes a mistake that's gonna cost him his life. That with George Floyd, his death should have taught us today. Taught us as of late. That we're gonna have to step up as a community and step up as a people, no matter, regardless of the race, and stop this stuff from happening. It don't matter about your race. Repeat, it doesn't matter about your race. But if it's black on black, you see it, you need to stop that person from doing it. That's one way to stop this stuff from happening. Just try to stop it before it starts. Cut the head before it starts rearing its head out. That's what you got to do. So please pray for the family. I'm going to do another video off topic sometime this week or next week. So stand by for that. I might do a live talking about the IULs. I know I mentioned it before, but I want people to understand the financial aspect of the benefits of IULs. And if you are interested, by all means, please let me know in the comments. But I'm going to do a separate live and a video about it so people can get information about it. YouTube, www.revealingcommunitytrust.org. I posted blog information. The next few videos is coming up. It's going to be talking about some actual material, exclusionary rule, Second Amendment. I'm going to go in detail and explain the exclusionary rule. I just finished my paper on it, and it's a lot of information, a lot of stuff I've learned on top of what I already know. And I want people to understand these things, because this is going to help you in court. This is going to help you when it comes to how police operate. So I'm going to talk about that probably next video. Please share, please pass on, especially this. Please pass on the information to someone that needs to hear it. This is time to take knowledge and to empower yourselves, to educate and to inspire, empower, and apply. That's what we got to do now. This should have taught us something. The last two things, Ahmaud Arbery and George Floyd, should have taught us that we need to not only take knowledge, we need to apply it. We need to check our emotions, because a lot of times when we're emotional, we don't think, and we make decisions that are going to cost us. Leave a comment below, share, and continue to pray for the family of George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery as they're going through this tough time. and continue to uplift each other positively. Be blessed.